Okay, great to be with you today, and I'm expecting a lot from your feedback and your reaction. I uh, I will skip the big part of what I've done before, and I will focus mostly, as we discussed with Pierre. I will focus on the more recent works that are quite specific, and you will understand why they could bring a certain reflection about cognition and creative practices, which are at the core of what artists and architects do. So I will start probably by sharing a few slides. So you see the map looks like a subway map. The color lines correspond to artworks that evolved in time during 2, 3, sometimes 4 decades. And the gray one are actually representing the concepts that are behind the project, because we don't do things just because we find a good idea coming from innovative technology, but because we consider there is some topic to be addressed, and technologies make it possible. So this is why I say it's a subjective map to deal with complexity. And so this is what you see. And I started with video, and I've been using, I did one of the very first series in computer graphics in the early 90s called Quarks. When I say one of the very first, it's actually the first or the second one. But of course, a very important point is something like what has been attributed to Leonardo, which is la pittura e cosa mentale. And since the introduction of the computer in the process, in the creative process, the cosa mentale, the thing from the mind, is becoming more and more crucial. And we'll see that creativity has been moving from the hand to the mind, and this is one of the bigger evolutions of the last decades. So there are different consequences of the practice using artificial intelligence and other technologies. For the artist, it changes everything, because it makes possible the fact, for example, to deal with augmented serendipity. So that means, serendipity is the way to find things without knowing you're looking for them. And this is what artists do all the time. They see things and they show things that other people wouldn't pay attention to, but they become significant because of the relevance of their selection. And augmented serendipity is a possibility to have to choose between more inputs. What the artist is doing all the time is not doing out of nothing from scratch. Is the artist is actually inspired by the world and producing something very often related to the world. So iterative curatorship is a good example of what comes from tools like, I guess you all know something like Midjourney, and that's a primitive Midjourney from the beginning. And you see that out of a prompt, the software generates different images. And very often these images have nothing to do with your prompt. And so you start a process of trying to figure out what is closer to what you want, even if the words and the prompt didn't express your need your request clearly. And this process of selecting one image and then another, and then another, and then another is converting the artist into a curator. The curator is selecting artworks from artists to show them and put them together to make sense. And this is exactly what the artist does with this kind of tool. I will say more about that later. And I will tell you more about this project called the Brain Factory. I will come back to that. So the starting point of the project was this idea that if I try to define two trends in human activities during the last decades, I would say it's about sublimation and reification. So, of course, words are used metaphorically here. And sublimation, you know that in chemistry is a transition of a substance directly from the solid to gas state without passing through the liquid state. And in a way, when the humankind started creating figures, numbers, letters, words, writing, it was the first attempt to convert the world, physical world, into something immaterial that would represent it. Because we deal easily with things that are not material, because we are using our brain. And this sublimation process has been extended by, of course, the anticipation of the atoms, the idea that the universe would be made of particles, and these particles put together would make sense or would correspond to what we call the physical world, when their physicality is not really clear to us. But of course, other particles are information particles, like what you see in binary coding or in any form of coding, where processes and figures result from the fact to put together signs and symbols. And so sublimation is a conversion of the world into something immaterial that could be treated, modified, explored, improved, thanks to the human brain or the machine brain. And that's an interesting thing, is that everything becomes easier, of course, if we work at this level. So one of our first attempts is what went to the physicality of things, to data. So that's what I call the sublimation process. Reification in economy is a term coming from Marx to describe the phenomenon where we convert concept into objects. And this is, for Marx, it was a basic thing for economy. And this is what helped the capitalist model working by converting emotions, converting ideas, converting concepts into physical things you can sell. So to convert the mind into a commodity is a really interesting process. You can just figure out this. You can imagine that you think about love, saying, okay, love is not an object. But if I tell you that to express love, you need to buy a ring with a diamond, and this diamond has to be as big as 1 or 2 months of your salary. I'm creating a convertibility of an emotion, a feeling, into a physical thing that can be sold by the bears. It can be sold by the bears. And so this is how it started. You create myth, you create symbols, and you make them physical. And so in a way, when you see all the process of converting things coming from the mind into objects, it becomes something like reification. For example, you make a drawing in architecture, a sketch, a blueprint, and then you want it to be a physical thing. And this is something you can do, for example, thanks to 3D printing. So 3D printing is a tool for reification. And this is something we want. We want with our brain to control the world, to control the physicality of the world in order to convert ideas into objects, into things, and in a way to dedicate the power of God in all the sense of the term to the humans, or maybe to give back the power of God to the humans. So the Brain Factory project is the idea that starting with abstractions, things that have no shape, that have no physicality, how can we give a shape to this abstraction thanks to the brain? And so in the original installation, the idea was to give the visitors EEG headset, that means electroencephalography headset, and take the electric waves as an information for the evolution of a shape made of particles on the screen that would describe or maybe give a feeling of what could be the shape of this abstraction, like power. What is the shape of power? I don't know. I have no idea. But if I ask people from one another to convert, to give a shape to power, maybe I will get something that mean power, that means power to a certain number of people, maybe not. And so in a way, the artwork becomes also an experiment. And the artwork is a process in this case. It's not a final object. But of course, in the Brain Factory, the idea is the final shape was 3D printed. And so with a 3D printer, we could get sculptures that come from the shape of different concepts and converted into a physical object. It can be sold. So we are still at the same time in the physical experience of reification and also the philosophical statement by Marx. So this is a footprint of freedom, because if you ask the brain to design things that have no shape, what is the footprint of a concept, a footprint of a feeling, a footprint of freedom, for example? And so the Brain Factory was in the 2015, 2016, and then it evolved in 2019, and it became the Value of Values project. And the Value of Values project differ is derived from the original project by the fact that there is no necessarily physical reification, and there is a financial conversion of the resulting shape. And so instead of taking all the attractions, we would take only abstractions related to human values. So the idea is not to create something that looks nice, but something that makes sense out of a transaction. And the transaction, you can easily make it through NFTs and the blockchain. So the possibility for everybody to put a tag, a timestamp on an object that becomes recognizable, and people can pay or put it at auction or convert it into money and currencies. That's another that's another point. I will talk about that later. So transactional aesthetics is this idea that the what creates the artwork is not the final objects that can here be modified by the owner, but this is a transaction itself. The fact that I sell values like I don't know, empathy, love, power, I mentioned that, money, and so on. And I give them a shape and I sell them. And the fact that people want to buy more of this or more of that, of course, helps us to understand better human values. So, yeah, symbolic translation, what I call H2H, the people call about B2B and B2C, to say business to consumer or business to business. Here is human to human, because the art in a way is always communication between humans. It's always something happening between humans, between artists and public, and between people that create and people that observe and receive. And here, of course, there is an ambiguity because everybody can create out of the resulting object. There is object. So the interesting in the blockchain is a smart contract. And the smart contract is itself a process. It's a financial process that describe the nature of the transaction that come from your transaction. For example, if I say there is an artwork and you can buy just a piece of the artwork, 5%, and then the whole thing, you can sell it when you have everything put together. I define rules. I define ownership. I define a process. And the artwork is in the definition of the set of rules that resides to the global project. So the smart contract is interesting for this. So the blockchain can become a medium if what you do is takes its meaning, its signification out of the process on the blockchain. So this project, Value of Values, which is the evolution of the brain factory, has been exhibited in different countries around the world, and two big shows in Hong Kong. So I will show you some video. What is interesting is that this project combines different kind of works, different kind of experiences, different kind of actions, and produces different outcomes that can be considered either for aesthetic value or for financial value or for transactional value and so on. Mm. Okay, so a few other things because I guess I don't have so much time left. For me, one of the concepts is the evolution from the art object to the art subject. The art object is a painting, a sculpture. It's an object. You can collect objects. The art subject is a dynamic form of art that is able to communicate, perceive, react, express, evolve in time. And this is what has been made possible thanks to computers. What is interesting is that the spectator in a show like that is First, an artist giving shape to ideas, a curator selecting and so on, a collector accumulating assets, an art dealer, and a trader. And the artwork itself is a virtual society of agents. It includes a generator, a calligrapher, a printer, a reader, an interpreter, a scientist, an analyst, an accountant, a poet, and so on. So if we want to understand the mutation at stake in the realm of contemporary art, we should pay attention to the ethology of the art subject. And the ethology is to analyze the behavior of the artwork as a subject. So this was in 2019 in Seoul, the press conference to present Value of Values with a lot of journalists and experts in cryptos. The first NFTs VOV that has been created. This was in Guangzhou for the IZEA Festival conference, where it was presented. Nothing special to say. That was in Italy, in Macerata. This was at the MoCA Taipei, where plenty of people discovered the possibility of giving shape to values. So that's the Hong Kong show. So as you understand here, there are three AIs actually. One is tracking the similarities between the new calligraphy that has been created during the process and Chinese characters that are ideograms. So the comparison is more significant. And so this creates automatically a prompt. And the prompt will be interpreted by two interpreters. One is an artistic interpreter who has an artistic bias and try to make artwork out of it. And the other is a marketing interpreter who creates subtitles to sell the product. So when you collect, of course, you create an ethical profile. And this is something you can share. And so the platform exists, of course, where you can really sell, buy, trade, barter values, exactly as if values would be currencies. So you just go to vov.art and you will find their online platform to do that. Just a few things about some recent works. So one with Refi Canadol, it's more public art thing. It's dialogue. It's two artworks that are like strangers, aliens, immigrants arriving here in Barcelona. And they don't understand the local culture. They don't look like people, but they will try to understand people and they will try to understand each other. So you can see the situation of interaction. As you can see, if there is nobody between them, they try to understand each other. Another different case with robotic arms. It's called power chess. And so this is two robotic arms that play chess, but at the same time, they try to figure out why human conflicts. And so the rules are different. They are supposed to be expressive. And this is just an ongoing experiment called inhibition that I started on Facebook, but I couldn't find the time to do that. The idea is to exhibit every day a new show and talk about the artist statement, the title, and the meaning of the work. And everything, of course, generated by AI, as if an AI would produce 100 times more things than artists. So ephemeral echoes, a parody of data art, that's this one. Synaptic tapestry, an ode to the mind's eye. This is another one about global warming with Eiffel Tower melting, and many other possibilities generated by AI. So I don't have to work anymore. I just have to. And so to conclude, I would say that at the beginning, I say that the process of reification or sublimation would help people to get back the power of the gods. What is interesting for me is to consider that the Genesis, the 7 days of the Genesis, are actually a manual of reverse engineering the world. And so at the end of the process, we have the first prompt, which is, let there be light. That's it.